Time now for the Nick Hart Show, our weekly chat with the head coach of the Gibson Southern Titans, Nick Hart. The show is presented by the Gibson Southern Football Boosters and brought to you by A&B Contracting, LLC, AgriGold, Best One Tire, Chips, SellMyTees.com, Cox Family Eye Care PC, Daylight Land Management, Du Bois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Duke Energy, Elite Insulation, Emerson Cattle Company, Fort Branch Dairy Queen, Foster Construction, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Snap-on Tools, Grant Rydens, Hilliard Lyons, Ignite Heating and Air, in loving memory of Zach Bailey, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, Julia's School of Dance, Kissel Farms Incorporated, Eleanor Off-Road of Owensville, MyTech Systems, Pegram Concrete LLC, Princeton Auto Park, Pro Rehab, Progressive Health Rehabilitation and Orthopedic Associates, Reinbrecht Homes, Right to Bear Arms, Rogers Bit Service LLC, Sandy's Pizza, Scotty's Lawn Equipment, South Gibson Grain, Sen Energy Partners LLC, Trapping and Removal of Animal Pest, 10 Barge Seed, TYFL, Vertical Tile Incorporated, Hobb Range Hood Company, Ziliac Enterprises, Beatles Towing, First Bank of Princeton, Johnson Commercial Mowing, Make Your Mark, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Martin's Auto Service, Kathy Solman Photography, Scheller's Carriage Inn, United Fidelity Bank, and by Wabash Valley College. The Nick Hart Show, presented by the Gibson Southern Football Boosters, starts now on 89.1 The Bash.
Welcome to the Nick Hart Show. I am Bob Bowser, and joining me is head coach of the Gibson Southern Titans, Nick Hart. And coach, your Titans finished the season 9-3 after the loss to Evansville Memorial on Friday night, 56-28 in the sectional championship ball game. So let's take a look at the team and individual stats from that sectional championship game. Starting right off here, when it comes total offense, Memorial had 646 yards of offense, while your Titans had 363. Rushing yards, Memorial had 307. Your Titans had 86. Passing yards, 339 for Memorial, 277 for your Titans. When it comes to interceptions, there was one interception for your Titans, 0 for Memorial. Couple fumbles by Memorial. They did lose one of those, and your Titans put one on the ground but did not lose it. So overall, one turnover for each ball club was all that the stats end up showing for that ball game. So, and even when you get down here, your third down conversions, 8 out of 15, against a ball club that's capable like Memorial, 8 out of 15 is pretty salty.
It's really good. That was something we were able to do, is kind of keep some drives going. And third down was a big part of that. And a big part of that was we were in a lot of manageable third downs. We didn't have a lot of 3rd and 10s where they could pin their ears back and get after us.
All right, so looking at some of the individual stats now on the offensive side here, Brady Allen was 20 for 29, 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Seth DeLong was 0 for 1. But you know what? For the first game in a sectional championship for the freshman Brady Allen, what a beautiful ball game right there.
Yeah, I thought he played really well. Not only throwing the ball, but we huddled for the first time in 7 years, and then that puts more on the quarterback. He's managing the play clock as we were kind of letting it go down to try and shorten the game and stuff, and he did a great job of managing that whole deal as well. So, I thought he played very well.
Well, and then looking at the rushing stats, Mitchell Spindler had 21 carries for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ben Butler had 2 carries for 7 yards. Brady Allen had 6 carries. I would assume some sack yardage is included in here at a -14. Receiving stats, Dawson Witt, a big night. 7 receptions for 157 yards and a touchdown. Ben Butler, 8 receptions for 74 yards and a touchdown. Mitchell Spindler with 1 catch for 16. Adam May had a catch for 16. And Seth DeLong had 3 receptions for 14 yards. So again, 5 guys in the stat column for catching footballs.
Yeah, I thought our receivers played, really well, and Dawson getting a touchdown broke the school record for touchdown catches in a season. So congratulations to him on that. Two that I know we broke this year was Dawson on his receiving touchdowns, and Bryce Williams set the field goal record for number of field goals in a season. So congratulations to both of those guys. But I thought our receivers played really well on Friday. Did a great job of going and getting the football.
All right, so Coach, while we just get things going underway, there's some of the stats from the ball game this past Friday night. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll get your overall thoughts from the playoff game concerning the offense, defense, and special teams. But right now, we need to thank some of the folks that make the Nick Hart Show possible on 89.1 The Bash.
The Nick Hart Show is brought to you by Ignite Heating and Air, Hilliard Lyons, Snap-on Tools Grant Bridens, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Foster Construction, Fort Branch Dairy Queen, Emerson Cattle Company, Elite Insulation, Duke Energy, Du Bois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Daylight Land Management, Cox Family Eye Care PC, Chips, SellMyTees.com, Best One Tire, AgriGold, and by A&B Contracting LLC.
Thank you for listening to 89.1 The Bash and the Nick Hart Show. All right, Coach, let's start with your thoughts of the offense from the playoff game against Memorial, and I'm going to start it off here with a thought of my own. Rarely do I have a thought of my own, but yet at the same time, it's a good thought. 6 minutes and 12-second drive to open up the ball game, and you punch it into the end zone to take a 7-0 lead. And if I remember correctly, that's the first time Memorial has been down in a ball game all year. That was just beautiful, a complete work of art. It was magnificent.
Yeah, the game started off exactly how we would have drawn it up. We wanted to take the ball. We huddled. We shortened the game. As you can tell, their offense is very, very good. And so we wanted to limit their possessions and try and hang around as long as we could in the ball game. And I think if you look, it's 28-14 at half, and then we trade scores to start off the second half. So it was 35-21, with 7 minutes or so to go in the third quarter. And then they kind of separated a little bit. But, that was the goal, was, hang around as long as we could. And then hopefully have a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter, and we didn't quite get to that part. But that first drive was great. And I thought, we're talking about offense. I thought our offensive execution was really good. Nobody has really scored on their first-team defense, the entire year. And I thought we moved the ball, very effectively, and got 2 touchdowns in the first half, and then 1 on our second possession of the second half, and really did a good job. Even when we had to punt, I thought we kind of moved the ball to flip the field a little bit, and did a great job of execution the whole night.
Well, and the thing is, before we come on air here, it was a matter, like I told you, that the game plan was marvelous. I mean, it was fantastic. You saw it unfold right before your eyes there in that first quarter of play, and really throughout the first quarter and a half, because then not only did they end up tying it up at 7 apiece, but you gave them the second time. So it's the first and second time that they've been down this year in 12 ball games, as your ball club again methodically drove it down the field, punched it into the end zone, and you were doing it through the air, through the run. Got to give those offensive linemen a lot of credit for the running game that was there, as well as the pass blocking.
Yeah, they did a great job. Their Memorial was moving around a lot on us up front, and our offensive line did a great job of picking that up for most of the night. I thought they, that was probably, I think our most consistent group throughout the year was our offensive line. I thought they played well from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and we're just kind of like that rock the whole time that played well every single week. So that's a great group that we had up front.
Well, and as I look at it too, it's a matter that, boy, just the way that you move the ball there, and as you mentioned, it's tough to score against that defense, but that offense just did so many nice things. So what was great about it, coming back full circle now to the game plan, while you and the coaching staff came up with an outstanding game plan, the kids executed it. And it's amazing what happens when it's executed flawlessly as it was.
Yeah, they did a great job. And I think, one thing I was really nervous about going in is, when you play fast all the time like we do, it's really hard to slow down. And we work on it in practice because there's times where you got to slow down and run some clock at the end of the game and stuff. But, to do it for a whole game is tough to do when you're used to playing one way and then go back to to a different way. And if you would have watched us try and huddle on Monday, it was one of the worst.
Where do you do that at, Coach?
Oh, it was one of the worst things that I've ever seen. So I was really, concerned about how we were going to, handle that adjustment and our but I thought, it was the way we had a chance to win the ball game. And our kids did a great job of buying into it. Even though it was a little foreign to them, buying into it and doing a great job with it.
Well, let's go over to the other side, the defensive side, where I know when you give up 56 points, you're like, well, do I really want to continue to talk about the defense here? But, there were some pretty good plays out there throughout the night. Some things that we can definitely showcase on this show about the defense. But overall, probably it's a matter of their guys on offense are just that good.
Yeah, they're very good, really good. I thought we had some chances early for some stops. We get the fumble on the first drive. We've got them at like 4th and 8 on the second drive, and they make a heck of a play to convert. Then their next drive, we're up 14-7, and they run it, and we've got them stopped dead to rights behind the line of scrimmage. They're going to be in a 3rd and long, and he squirts loose for a 75-yard touchdown run. Early, I thought we were in position to make some plays, and they just made a few more plays. We didn't make plays than they did. And that's what, really good teams like Memorial are going to do to you. And then as they kept scoring, I thought we got a little bit frazzled defensively. We weren't getting lined up, things we hadn't done all year. And I think that's what good teams do. Again, they kind of put the pressure on us because we weren't stopping them. And you get a little frazzled, trying to get stops. And I thought we played a little bit out of character, later on in the ball game. And again, a lot of that credit goes to Memorial because they put that pressure on our defense and kind of got us rattled a little bit. That defensive unit was really good to us the entire year. Ran up against a really tough challenge on Friday night. And Memorial is going to continue to score a lot of points here as they continue to advance.
Well, and as you talk about the defense being frazzled, it's a matter, too, that the sign of those teams that go deep, and I'm talking a championship type of a run, get there to the big house and play. It's a matter of they may still have their moments of being frazzled, but again, it's moments. Mm-hmm. It's a down or two, maybe even just one series, but it doesn't carry on for a quarter. And that's the difference between being able to get to a sectional championship possibly and getting really deep and getting into that championship game.
Yeah, and I think you look at both sides of the ball, we had a lot of, woulda, couldas, if we would have made this play, if we could have stopped that play. I think there's several in there. And when you play the number one team in the state, you have to make all those woulda, coulda plays. And we did early, I thought, and that's kind of why we were standing, toe-to-toe and throwing punches with them. But then they started making a lot more of the woulda, coulda plays. And again, that's what number one teams and defending state champs, do. And they're obviously very talented and very good. And, will, I think, continue to make a nice little run here.
Well, let's go over to the special team side because, as you mentioned earlier, Bryce Williams comes through with a new school record, but that young man missed one. If I've got it in my brain correctly, he missed one extra point all year, and that was simply on a high snap. Mm-hmm. And Adam May did a beautiful job of getting up and getting the ball. He tried to get it back down, and then they just weren't. It got blocked.
Yeah, and if you watch the Alabama LSU game the other night, they kind of had like a similar bobbled snap. But yeah, he missed one extra point and one field goal, in 12 ball games.
Jeez, in high school, that's fabulous.
That's great in college. That's
the pros would take it right now.
Yes, that's he was a great weapon for us the entire year, and just did a marvelous job.
All right, well, Coach, we need to thank some of the supporters of the Nick Hart Show. When we come back, we will take a look at the 2018 season and talk about this senior class as you are listening to the Nick Hart Show on 89.1 The Bash.
The Nick Hart Show is brought to you by South Gibson Grain, Scotty's Lawn Equipment, Sandy's Pizza, Rogers Bit Service LLC, Right to Bear Arms, Reinbrecht Homes, Progressive Health Rehabilitation and Orthopedic Associates, Pro Rehab, Princeton Auto Park, Pegram Concrete LLC, MyTech Systems, in loving memory of Zach Bailey, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, Eleanor Off-Road of Owensville, Kissel Farms Incorporated, and by Julia's School of Dance. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. The list of social media platforms continues to grow, and so too does the value of social media to businesses. The new Social Media Management Certificate program at Wabash Valley College prepares you for a career in social media or teaches you how to effectively use social media to grow your own business. From advertising and promotion to public relations and marketing, this certificate program teaches you the ins and outs of successful social media strategy. For more information, visit www.iecc.edu or call 618-262-8641 today. The Nick Hart Show is brought to you by Sin Energy Partners LLC, trapping and removal of animal pests, 10 Barge Seed, TYFL, Vertical Tile Incorporated, Hobb Range Hood Company, Ziliak Enterprises, Beatles Towing, First Bank of Princeton, Johnson Commercial Mowing, Make Your Mark, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Martin's Auto Service, Kathy Solman Photography, Scheller's Carriage Inn, and by United Fidelity Bank.
Welcome back to the Nick Hart Show on 89.1 The Bash. I am Bob Bowser, and joining me is head coach of the Titans, Nick Hart. So, Coach, let's talk about the 2018 season overall. Starting off beginning of the year, traveling over to Forest Park. You're coming in, you've got a freshman quarterback that's not played one snap at the high school level, but has all these accolades already thrust upon him, and really not knowing in a lot of spots because you had to replace a lot from last year's ball club, but yet you put together a team over the season. It was a little rough spot there, a couple of ball games where Henderson County and Heritage Hills got us, but boy, 9-3 on the season, a sectional championship. Got the opportunity to get a little revenge against Heritage Hills for that earlier loss. It looks like to me this season was very successful.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm most proud of is, when you look at our season, I think, we played pretty well weeks 1, 2, and 3. We hit a little drag there in the middle of the season. It had a lot to do with who we were playing. You lose to Henderson and Heritage Hills. But the way we were playing at that time, if you would have told me that we would have come back, we would have beat Southridge, we would have come back and beat Heritage Hills, and would have hung, for about 2.5 quarters with Memorial, I would have thought you were the craziest person alive.
You tell me that every week.
But, so I was very proud of how much better we got the last 6 weeks of the season. And I think as a coach, especially in Indiana where your regular season doesn't matter one bit, that your goal is to be playing your best football when you get to week 10, and then continue to get better as you go through. And I certainly think that we were doing that. And I told our seniors after the game on Friday, because that's who, when the season's over, that's who you really hurt for is your seniors that aren't going to get to, play anymore, or at least not play for Gibson Southern anymore. But I told them how proud I was of them because I think those are the hardest guys at that point in time when we're sitting at 4-2 and we're not playing good football. The young guys have a lot of incentive to hey, I got to continue to get better and help us out. I think for seniors at that point, you're going to have a hard time winning the conference. You look at your sectional, and the team that just beat you by 24 is in there. Not to mention the defending 3A state champs and the number one team. I think it would have been really easy for a lot of seniors to say like, yeah, we'll just kind of ride this out, and that's not what happened at all. They completely bought in. We made some changes to how we were kind of doing practice and stuff, and they bought into what needed to be done and continued to compete and fight for the football team. And that I'm very proud of all the seniors for that, because I think, especially in this day and age, it would have been really easy for them to just say, hey, we'll just kind of ride this one out until it ends. But they came out and laid it on the line every single day, Monday through Friday for the program.
Well, and I think when I look back throughout the entire season, you talk about the beginning of the season playing well and then hitting that mid-season slump. What I think about is week number 9, Southridge. Best, I think, your ball club played all year up to that point. And I didn't know if it could get any better. And then all of a sudden, you turn around, and in week 11, you take on Heritage Hills, and that was even better than it was in week 9. So you're on the upward trend. And then for a half against Memorial, beautiful football. Mm-hmm. I mean, they played very well at the end when you needed it. They just ran into a better ball club at the last game of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when, it was, the end of the season's never easy for coaches, players, anything, anybody, that kind of, you put in so much work when it ends, it's tough. But I think, one thing I told the kids on Friday is myself included, coaches included, players included, we have a lot to hold our head up high about and not be bummed that the season's over, because, gosh dang, we went through a lot, in that middle part of the season, and we continued to get so much better as we went through, that it was, I think a success. And we came out and we, gave everything we had on Friday night. And like you said, we lost to a very good, very talented team. I think when that happens, it's never easy, but it makes it a little bit easier, to for the end of the season to hit you, because of you were playing your best football going in, and you got beat by somebody that was playing better football than you.
Well, and keeping the glue together throughout this season would be your senior class. And let's go ahead and let's mention, if I remember right, there were 13 guys in the senior class. So let's mention those guys, because that's the very fabric of this 2018 ball club, is what those 13 guys contributed, not only in the weight room throughout the off season, but into throughout the regular season and into the playoffs. Those 13 guys kept this group together and pushed them forward to be the best they could be in week number 12.
Yeah, we had Lucas Ploss, Andrew Smith, Garrett Martin, Bo Lamy, Cody Hupp, Dawson Witt, Bryce Williams. We talked about him. He had a great year, kicking the football. Jacob Fireline, Sebastian Vincent, Brendan Bittner, Mark Sorg, Blake Martin, and Ashby Henning. And I hope I didn't miss anybody there, but it was a great senior group. Not the biggest we've had, but like you talked about, I think in high school football, no matter who you are, your seniors kind of control the football team. They're the leaders. And I don't care if you've got a junior that's like a great leader. Your seniors, control the football team. And like I said, going into week 7, when we kind of challenged and we got to change how we're practicing and preparing and everything, they jumped right in and got on board with what we were doing, and they did a great job in the weight room. They were a great group, and helped us get to a point. One is I'm glad that we got to send our seniors out, on a more positive note than week 6. I thought we were probably gonna have a hard time beating Southridge and be 6-3, and you never know how the playoff draw is going to go. You're looking at 6-4. But to get to 9-3, I was happy that we could send our seniors out on a better note that way. But they did a great job of kind of helping us keep it rolling. Because, not only, I think one thing we don't talk about a lot in football is, different than like basketball. Like if you make the sectional semifinals in basketball, your season's only one day longer if you make it to the sectional championship and lose. But, when you get to the sectional championship and you get those 3 extra weeks of practice, and a lot of teams only get the 1 week of the playoffs. That's a big deal in building your program and getting your young guys work and improving the young guys all the way through. I always kind of consider that. When we were making it to the semi-state, I always thought of that as like our spring football period. We were getting a spring football period that nobody else was getting for those young guys to practice and get better.
Well, wrapping up here our thoughts on the seniors for 2018. Give me a word or two as to what 10 years from now, when someone says, what do you think about that 2018 senior group? What would be 1 or 2 words that just come to your mind?
Relentless. I thought, just like not to talk about too much, but the way, we're 4-2 and just got whooped by a conference rival. And I thought it would have been easy for those guys to throw in the towel, and they didn't do it. They continued to work and do what was ever asked of them to help our football team in any way possible.
All right, Coach. Well, there's one more segment to go, so we'll take some time to get a glimpse into the 2019 Gibson Southern Titans football team. But first, let's thank some of the underwriters of the Nick Hart Show on 89.1 The Bash.
The Nick Hart Show is brought to you by Sin Energy Partners, LLC. Trapping and removal of animal pests. 10 Barge Seed. TYFL. Vertical Tile Incorporated. Hobb Range Hood Company. Ziliak Enterprises. Beatles Towing. First Bank of Princeton. Johnson Commercial Mowing. Make Your Mark. Mayflower Gardens and Gifts. Martin's Auto Service. Kathy Solman Photography. Scheller's Carriage Inn. And by United Fidelity Bank. You love sports. You're your team's ultimate fan. Why not turn that passion into the ultimate career? Enroll now in the brand new Sports Marketing and Media program at Wabash Valley College. Learn how to use digital video and other media to add to the fan experience, how to engage fans on social media, and how to create excitement by hosting events and promotions. Get off the sidelines and into the game. Find out more about the WVC Sports Marketing and Media program online at www.iecc.edu or by phone at 618-262-8641. Fall classes begin August 18th.
Welcome back to the Nick Hart Show right here on 89.1 The Bash, or you may be using the free app to access the show on your cell phone. All right, Coach, let's talk about the 2019 Titans football players. Let's start with the returning players from your offensive, defensive starters this year.
I think when you look, you're excited, especially offensively. We only lose 3 starters on the offensive side of the ball. So I think that's certainly very exciting. So you got 8 starters back, and then that's not even including guys like Alex Breivogel played a lot for us on the offensive line when guys got banged up or we went in heavy sets. Carter Green played a lot. When we started getting in some of the offset pistol eye stuff. So you add those 2 guys in that have a lot of experience. You're up to 10. 10 guys that have played meaningful varsity football coming back. And that I think is a really big deal. We got 3 of our 5 coming back up front, and out of all the skill positions, Dawson is the only guy moving on, and so that's a lot of cohesiveness there. On the line and in the skill positions. I think we've had years where you have a lot of line guys coming back, nobody's coming back in the skill positions, or vice versa. And it's really going to allow us to hit the ground running whenever the summer gets here. Because there's so much experience coming back in both of those groups.
All right, so let's go over to the defensive side, though, where you're going to have a lot of seniors that you're going to have to replace. I think the other night when I was looking at the depth chart, 7 potential holes that you're going to have to fill next year on the defensive side.
Yeah, we lose 7. But again, I think we got some guys like McCray Robinson's, not technically listed as a starter. He played a lot of football for us. Blake Stuckey played a lot of football for us. So we've got some guys, that then you're getting into like having the 6 starters back. If you kind of add them into the mix, and a lot of guys that got to play a lot of football as well. In the secondary, Isaac Gross, was kind of our extra spare guy the whole time, and luckily we stayed healthy in the secondary, but he got a lot of practice time. Tucker Bowes got a lot of practice time with that first group in the secondary. So, I think obviously when you look at it, we have more holes to fill on the defensive side. And so you come into the summer, and I think, you kind of look at it and you think, okay, last year it was we replaced a lot more on offense than we did defense, and we kind of talked about our defense is going to have to hold us through until our offense gets to where we want it, and it very well might be the opposite next year where we're going to score some points and keep scoring until our defense comes along a little bit. But I think we have some good young guys. Our JV did not give up very many points this year. I think we have a good group of defensive guys. That freshman and JV group waiting to come in and kind of take over their varsity role.
Well, and when we talk about the defense, the biggest key, I think, is the kind of the mantra of your program. It really talks about the depth of your program. Next, tighten up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if you're still using that slogan or not, but NTU, next, tighten up. I remember seeing that all the time coming through on the press material that you give to me, and really in your program, that's what it's been. I mean, you had to reload quite a bit this year, offensively and defensively, and boy, I mean, they come out and they did the job. So it almost builds excitement as to seeing what can next year's group bring.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of excitement. Our JV team went 6-3 this year. They play a really tough schedule. We had a lot of cancellations through our conference, so their 3 losses were to Castle, Henderson, and Mater Dei. And then our freshman team went 8-1, and obviously, Brady's up playing, varsity football, and actually the kid who was playing quarterback, Braden Malone, broke his collarbone. So we were on to our third, quarterback option, and they still went 8-1. Their only loss was by a touchdown to Jasper. And again, they go around and, play a lot of SIAC schools and travel around. So they had a really good year. So I think, and again, I'm not really big on, we won so many freshman games or JV games, but I think it shows the talent that is there, and we competed against bigger schools, at both age groups there, and competed really well. I think when you look at our JV and, we lost to Castle by 3 or 4, lost to Mater Dei by a touchdown. So there's you see your kids, going up against great programs and a lot of times bigger programs and competing very well. That gets you really excited about what they can do when they, step up to the varsity level.
All right, and of course, 8th graders are coming up next year. And see, the thing is, as I look at it, throughout the years that we've been doing this coaches show longer than we've been doing the live game broadcast, but all the time, yes, freshman, JV, 7th and 8th grade, that's about development. But when you also are developing and winning, now there is an expectation that's all sitting right there for them that, you know what, we're winners, we've been winners, we're going to continue to be winners, and it just kind of breeds itself on further up to the varsity level.
It does. I've always made the analogy that, and obviously it's a different level, but to Major League Baseball, like the varsity is the major league club, the JV's the AAA, freshman's AA, and then you get down to your single A balls, the middle school, and you're kind of grooming them up through the levels, to get to the varsity club. And just like how a guy might go from AA to the majors, same thing. You might not play JV. Maybe I'm a sophomore that starts, and I had to go from AA straight to the majors. But and nobody. One of my points is always nobody remembers who won the AAA championship this year. It's all about developing and getting it up to the varsity level. But to your point, it is great to see kids compete and win when you are developing, the way that you want to. And I've been very impressed with the way our kids have played at the JV and freshman levels because, when you're starting 22, you're taking your 22 best athletes away from the JV, whereas some schools that, elect to play guys a lot both ways, they're only pulling like 14 or 15 guys away, and then that's leaving those next 7 guys that we're playing on the varsity down with their JV and stuff. So I always think it's great when we compete really well at that level because of the way we choose to play football. But our 8th grade, I believe, shared the conference this year, and 7th grade won the conference outright. So they both had great years, and our coaching staffs down there do a great job. And I think the program kind of continues to roll in the right direction, and we're thankful for the seniors that we had this year. But we're excited to get back to work here really soon and start preparing for next season.
Well, and I'm certain you're going to take a day or two, and the coaching staff gets a day or two to kind of see what it's like to go home right after school, or instead of having to come in and practice for couple hours or be at a game on a Monday night and a Thursday night and a Friday night. But then you're going to get right back into that weight room quickly.
Yeah, I can say this because I don't know how often she listens to the show, but yeah, typically what happens is towards the end of football season, my wife complains about how
Well, if she's not listening to us, we got a problem.
She complains about how I'm never home, and we're always gone during football season and stuff. And then when football season gets over and I'm around more, about 2 weeks into it, she
kick you out.
Don't you have something football you can go do and get out of the house? But no, it is nice to kind of get away for a little bit, and we'll get those guys back in the weight room, and we get them rocking and rolling and ready for 2019.
All right. Well, Coach, anything else you would like to add this week to the final show of the 2018 football season?
No, just, again, thanks to our seniors, and everything they've done for the program, and our fans and parents and everything. I think everything that they do is just, top notch, and we had a great crowd on Friday night. It was a great atmosphere for high school football, and we're very thankful for how much our parents and community support the program.
Well, and I'm going to say one thing too, because Kyle Peach is my boss here doing the radio part, and I know on Friday night in the midst of the game they were having issues with the broadcast because there were so many people that were listening. That's
awesome.
A good thing.
That's awesome.
That's a good thing because there was a lot of people at that game, and there were a lot of people listening because Gibson Southern Titan football is top notch.
Yep.
But thanks, Coach. Jason and I would love to thank you, the players, and